Hi, welcome to this Word for Wednesday for this week. And today I want to continue on a theme I kind of started last week. That's the idea of simplicity in the Christian life. And for that purpose, there's a story in the book of Second Kings that I want to discuss. Specifically, it's Second Kings chapter 18. And this is talking about the reign of King Hezekiah, who did what was right in the sight of the Lord. I want to start reading in Second Kings 18, verse 4, talking about King Hezekiah. He removed the high places and broke the sacred pillars. He removed the high places and broke the sacred pillars. So the first thing he's doing when he becomes king is he starts eliminating the worship of false gods in the nation of Judah. Now this should certainly be considered a good thing. They were told to take the land, not worship any of the other gods around them, be dedicated to Yahweh, the God of Israel. And the kingdoms of Israel in the north and Judah in the south, after they split into two different kingdoms, Israel went off the tracks really bad. Judah had kind of a mixed track record with its kings, going back and forth between worshiping the true God and worshiping false gods of the nations around them. And when Hezekiah becomes king, he proceeds to tear down the worship places of these false gods. And that should certainly be considered a good thing. And even the priests and the others who worship these false gods, they would see his actions and say, something along the lines of they may not like it, they may even resist him on it, but ultimately they could understand it. He's eliminating the worship of all gods, but his, and they can certainly understand that, even if they don't like it. But then he does something that would make even the worshippers of Yahweh themselves scratch their heads and wonder what's going on. And let's read that. Let's continue reading. And starting in verse 4, he removed the high places and broke the sacred pillars, cut down the wooden image. That's, again, attacking false images. But then he does something that the true worshippers of Yahweh might find a little perplexing. It says, and broke in pieces the bronze serpent that Moses had made. Broke in pieces the bronze serpent that Moses had made. This bronze serpent, made by Moses way back in the book of Numbers, several hundred years before Hezekiah comes on the scene, they had kept it around, and that was part of their religion. That was something that Moses had done, and he had done it at the instructions of God himself. But then Hezekiah comes and breaks it into pieces. He does it intentionally, he does it purposefully, he does it publicly. It's not a situation where, oops, I dropped it and it broke. No, he goes out and he publicly and purposefully breaks this image of the serpent. Why? Well, let's continue on. He broke in pieces the bronze serpent that Moses had made, for until those days the children of Israel burned incense to it and called it Nehushtan. For until those days the children of Israel had burned incense to it. Now, this bronze serpent made by Moses at the instructions of God was certainly a good thing for what its intended purposes were. But the Israelites had taken that good thing and they turned it into a God thing that they had worshiped and burned incense to. And I'm wondering, in our Christian lives, how often do we make our simple Christian faith into something more complex than it has to be because we take good things and we worship them as though they were God, or we make those the object of our devotion and our dedication. I I went to seminary with a guy who was serving in a rather large church in the area. He was a layman, he wasn't a professional preacher, and he had no intention of becoming a professional preacher. He came to seminary for the purposes of self improvement, so to say, not with the goal of becoming a professional paid preacher. He wanted to keep doing what he had been doing, which was serving in volunteer capacities in the church, as a greeter, as an usher, as a Sunday school teacher, and many other capacities. And he was talking about his experience there and how he kept, throughout the course of the years he had served at this church, he kept adding more and more volunteer things, more serving to his list of things that he had to do. Until one day he realized he was kept adding to the list, not as a way of serving God, but he was in love with the idea of serving. He was serving the idea of serving. Now, serving in your local church is certainly a good thing, and I would encourage more people to do it. But why are you serving? Are you serving because you're just on autopilot and you think that's what you got to do? And you're serving for the purpose of saying, hey, look at me, I'm serving? Or are you serving because you want to see the advancement of the gospel of God in our society? Are you serving because you want to serve God? Or are you serving because you want to be busy with serving? It's giving you something to do. A good question that we should all ask ourselves. And when the object of our service becomes service itself, then we have taken the simplicity of the gospel and we've turned it into something more complex than it needs to be. And that serving for the sake of serving is not honoring to God, and it does not spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. So let's not make our Christian faith more complex than it needs to be. It can be a simple faith that helps us navigate life in this complex world. Thanks for joining me on this Word for Wednesday. This is a ministry of Lakefield Baptist Church in McMillan, Michigan. You're welcome to join us if you're in the area and have no other church that you're attending Sunday mornings at 11. We'd love to see you here. Thanks for joining us.